Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps, it is I, your host with the most, Renaissance man, who always thinks he can. And oh, what's this? Champion of the peeps with a little bit of an upgrade. You let me upgrade you here in the yard of streams for another edition of the Raw Rewind, part of Pitts and Sarah's wrestling show. We can't rewind Raw without the best of the West. You can't forget about Sarah Marshall. What's poppin', girl?
Hey, yo.
Things go faster on my work laptop, so like I pressed that before you were done talking, but that's because on my other one I have to.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh god, I cut him off.
Hello.
Whoopsies. But anyway, hello.
How we doing?
We are doing.
Sarah, doesn't this just look just so much better? Like,
yeah, then
real gold.
Then like printed pictures pasted on a child's toy. Yeah.
Well, that's called effort. All right.
I mean,
and this is called success. All right. There's a little bit of a difference.
Okay.
Right, we got to keep that success up. That's why we rock this. And I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty heavy. I'm not gonna lie. It's like it's
maybe,
a lot.
Maybe you need to like build a shelf behind you or something, and just be like, all right, just put this behind me.
That's what's gonna be in the works.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's absolutely gonna be in the works when we, we're not here in the Pitts cave. Maybe have like the Pitts office, the Pitts. We're moving forward in the right direction, which I think is a great segue, Sarah, for Raw and us going to rewind it, because things are moving very well at a great forward pace. And last night, by God, I'm obviously speaking hyperbolic here, but no, it was a very good show. It was a very good Raw to get you even more excited for WrestleMania if you didn't need a reason already, and it's just like the things that are connecting. I saw one tweet about how it feels that this year's WrestleMania has a lot more interconnection with storylines, and things just make more sense. Like we're be brutally honest with you, I don't think we've talked more than 5 times about the number of matches, because we don't care. We're more invested in the matches that are, the few that we want to see, which is completely different from last year and just years before.
Well, because I feel like it's more about the storytelling and the quality of the matches that we know that we're going to get. And it's like, okay, I don't care if literally night 1 has 5 matches and that's it, and it's like, in years past, it would be like, that's it,
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but now the stories are so compelling and you're invested, and it's like, with Triple H in charge, that they're going to get time too. You're not really going to have a match that's only like 5-10 minutes, like most matches are going to be 15-20 or longer, which is appropriate given the fact that it's WrestleMania. But Absolutely. That wasn't something that Vince cared about. He'd go out there and put on a squash match if that's what he felt like, so I think that's part of the unique build up to this one too, because like you said, it's like, we're not like, oh, we're only gonna get this match and this match. Is like, no, that's fine, like, I want to see it and it's gonna be good. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And the people that are in, I mean, we'll talk about it already. You know what? Just talk about it. Just open it up, because I feel that whatever I say. Oh, let me get some comments first. Is that what you're gonna mention? Because anything I say right now, I'm liable for spoiler alert, and I kind of want to run down here in order. What's up, David? What's popping? Sarah, you need a women's. I know.
I'll consider it at Mania. The reason I'm not doing it beforehand is because I still owe some money on taxes. So I'm trying to save as much money as I can so that I still have a good amount to spend when I'm at Mania, so I don't want to just like frivolously spend beforehand and
Good
then be
word.
like, oh man, I still owe 2 grand in taxes because that's where I'm at, y'all.
Yeah, and you can just get one at Mania,
Yeah,
you know? You
yeah.
can just go to Mania because 'cause I'm still gonna get one, and this was pretty cheap for, an authentic belt,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, and I was getting just pretty sick of holding the plastic one,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I'm more than just the Gillette Gazette champion
Mm-hmm.
of the Patriot peeps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the champ of all peeps, the wrestling peeps included, guys. Uh, Good, Dicky, I'm happy that you enjoyed Raw yesterday. Nathaniel, that's just not even in my nonsense galaxy.
Please
I wanna see
no.
that. No, I don't wanna see that, sorry. And what if The Rock wants Seth and he doesn't? Alright, let
Hopefully.
on let's not put that out into the universe. Oh, Marcus is back,
Hello.
and
Hmm?
of that. Your right-hand
Oh
man.
yes. What up?
Congrats on the belt. Thanks, Vinny. It feels earned.
Thank you so much.
It feels earned a little bit. Still
Okay.
gotta prove that I should have it, but it feels a little earned.
You know what? I just realized I am on my laptop that doesn't have my notes. So how about you keep going through the comments so I can go get my
Yeah,
laptop?
you do that, and I'll just entertain the peeps
Okay,
with
I'll be right
it's his
back.
nonsense. We're just
Okay, I'll be
gonna
right back.
go into some nonsense. So this is literally your time to just ask away. Ask the champ what you know. Little champs conference here. Oh, let's see what Nathaniel had to say here. You should get the rated R. No. Funny story about the rated R superstar, like in general, the not the belt, but the shirt. One Christmas, my mom got me like a shit ton of wrestling shirts and was just buying them, didn't really look at them because no one cares about wrestling in my stratosphere. So, Christmas morning, I go up and open the shirt, and it says sex, drugs, rock and roll, or sex, drugs, violence, one of the two. Rated R superstar. Parents, parents horrified, brothers dying, laughing. And yeah, that was shirt was returned. I got one that was more appropriate. But yeah, hilarious story. What belt am I gonna get at Mania? That's a great question. That is a great question. I don't know. I'm up in the air with the WWF Attitude Era. That circle one, I like that one. The US Spinner's pretty cool. That one I wouldn't mind the US Spinner, but then also kind of want to go classic and go big gold. But then I kind of got the OG NWA, so it's kind of clashing. So I don't know yet. We really haven't thought it through.
Okay, I'm ready if you were ready.
Oh, I'm ready.
I'm
I'm
gonna be
just
looking this way because my notes are over here.
all right. Do what you got to do. If you have to look at the teleprompter, you got to look at the teleprompter.
Yeah, it's because I totally forgot.
Look
But
at
anyway.
you, Sarah, two laptops.
Oh my god. I know. Okay. So um the Raw starts with American Nightmare Cody Rhodes making his triumphant return to San Antonio. And of course he asks us what we want to talk about. We know what we want to talk about. He knew what we wanted to talk about. We knew what he wanted to talk about. Come on. Um so he lets us know that, yeah, of course, he's going to talk about The Rock because The Rock said a whole lot of shenanigans on Friday. And the thing that I loved is he just completely went in on him about about that promo that he did on Instagram, posting a 15-minute video, deleting it, and then posting another one. And he's like, "Oh, then he comes back and posts the director's cut."
The
And I'm like,
director's cut was a good line.
and it's like,
That was a good line.
yeah, I have a lot to say about that. So, and I don't think we talked about that, did we? We
No,
never.
because I went away to the wedding, the Una Boda,
Okay, so
which I'm
I
is that the rants you were teasing me
one of
of?
them, yeah.
Oh, one of
Um,
them. Oh, geez,
well,
buckle up, peep.
I mean, technically, I could go on a rant about how The Rock's not that entertaining, but
Oh, I know.
um,
I'm
I
gonna
don't know if
boo.
I want that heat.
I'm gonna boo.
Yeah, I don't want that heat.
I'm
But
sorry. I
anyway,
love you, but I'm gonna boo.
um, well, I will talk something about that. But
Yeah, you
anyway,
gotta get your mind off it. Yeah.
so I haven't watched the video. I haven't watched the promo, so I'm not speaking on it from like experience. I haven't watched it mostly because I didn't feel like sitting there for 21 minutes watching The Rock talk to a camera. I wasn't interested.
Oh,
However, I have heard it's fire. It's great. It's one of his best promos ever.
damn
But
right it is.
but this is the thing. Anybody who is a good talker can stand in front of a camera in their backyard and talk for 20 minutes and deliver a good promo. I'm sorry, I'm not really impressed because it's like,
All right.
hold on.
I'm letting you finish. I'm not saying
Cody could do that. Any of them could do that. Any of the ones who can talk. Seth Rollins could do that. But also the reason my bigger issue is the premise of the promo was for him to clarify the roster or the storyline problems that he created. So that's why I'm like, I'm not giving you any kudos for cutting this promo when the reason why you needed to do it was because you inserted yourself in a story that did not need you and you were trying to take a moment away from Cody and then they had to pivot because you didn't get the reaction you wanted. So now you have to come in and try and fix it. I'm not going to like sit here and applaud you because you should have been doing this. This is something that should have been done because your presence in this story is what messed it up and then made it all really confusing and weird and hard to follow. So that's why I'm like, I can't really sit back and be like, wow, Rock, that was great. Yeah, it should be because you're the reason why we're in this situation. So
Dickie thought it was impressive.
it is impressive. But at the same time, guys, I used to stream for an hour basically talking to myself because it was just like me sitting here with a few viewers. But I'm just saying,
jeez.
I'm not saying it's not great. I haven't watched it. I've heard rave reviews. That's what everybody's saying. But what I'm saying is people are giving him like way too much credit beyond what the promo was. If you look at the promo, if you look at it for what it is, yeah, it's great. But if you're thinking about why it was done, what he's saying, the purpose of the whole reason why he did it in the first place is because of an issue he created. So I would expect this to happen because if anybody needed to come in and fix the situation, it was him. So,
But if you when you watch it, it doesn't just clarify things, it connects things so that you
but
just don't even care that he's messing up anything because we're still getting it's more entertaining and a better story than Cody just going up against the bloodline for the second straight year.
I'm not I get it and I'm what I'm saying like and I've said it multiple times like if the end result was to have Cody versus Roman, I said that I feel like I don't have a right to complain because I'm getting what I want, right? So that's why I'm saying like all these other things I feel like I can't say anything because it's like my biggest gripe was that The Rock decided to insert himself into the story and take it away from
Fair.
Cody.
It's a fair
Obviously they
gripe.
switched it. So I'm like I can't complain. So I'm not even complaining about that. We're beyond that, like, okay, I'm getting Cody versus Roman. The Rock is still going to be in a match. So like, hello, I'm going to see The Rock wrestle, which I've never seen in
I'm gonna
person.
cry.
So it's like that type of stuff I'm not mad about. And obviously, given the direction of the story and like how much bigger it has become because of this pivot and whatever, I am grateful for it. It's a lot better. But I'm just looking at why he had to post this promo. That's all I'm looking at. So that's why I'm saying like people are trying to give him kudos, but it's like you can give him kudos, as Richard was saying, like he spoke for 21 minutes in his backyard, like to a camera by himself. But at the same time, like he probably should have been doing that.
So
So
where my only counter is where else would WWE, not he, would WWE have fit a soliloquy of The Rock explaining the things that he did and trying to connect it to how Cody said no to The Rock, like I won't, and all that, and then the power, how we connecting TKO into this because to be honest, like TKO is their own entity and they just own WWE,
hmm,
but now they're bringing it in
they had to.
but
this
That's
is
what's best for business.
I know. So
Okay.
what so no, I agree. There are
Yeah.
aspects that they've had to do it because of the reaction that The Rock got. Obviously, they weren't going to touch that he's a chairman of the board or whatever for TKO had this gone the way they wanted it to. They weren't going to implement that. But
Oh,
then
yeah.
because he decided to take this match away from Cody and everyone turned on him, which was still shocking, I think, for most people. They had to bring it in because that's what the fans were saying. They were saying he's abusing his power. That's why he has this match. Like he just decided that this was blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Like they
Oh, yeah.
had to bring that in, and it's easily gonna get him heat. Those types of stories always do. Like
Always do.
you
They
know,
know
the
they
authority, like hello, like uh it just works. So I'm fine with that. Like I'm fine with him
hated
explaining
the
it. I'm just
authority.
saying, like, for people being like, wow, he just did all this. No, guys, he kind of had to. That's my point. Is he kind of had to explain these plot holes because everybody was thinking, okay, how does this make sense? Like we were literally, I don't know if it was last week, I think it was. We're just
Something like
talking
last week or 2
about
weeks ago.
how he keeps saying, they keep bringing up that Cody doesn't even deserve this rematch. Like he just comes in a year later after losing and he's just going to get his match again, and it's like you're completely ignoring the whole Royal Rumble aspect. So that's what I mean. Like he had to explain some of these things to make it make more sense, and most of it is just putting more heat on himself. But I think that there's an emphasis on the conversation that he had with Cody, which Cody talks about, which we can get to. I think there's an emphasis on that because
That's yeah,
it's gonna play into how night 2 goes down.
exactly.
So I can give him kudos for that. I'm just saying, like, do you understand my point, or am I just not
I do no, no,
explaining?
no, no, no. I get it. I get
Okay,
it. I
I think the
just
chat doesn't
I'm
agree with me.
the chat,
Um,
the peeps can think what they want to think. All right, that's their opinion.
well, I'm getting a
I
lot of
understand.
hate, guys.
Yeah, it's
I'm getting a lot of hate on
I think you
YouTube.
gotta
So
take that car and just steer into that skid and
yeah,
just
I
do
guess
a nice little flippity flop
I just,
heel turn.
I joke about being a heel and whatever because I like heels, but when I get attacked when I've like actually being nice, it just becomes a little frustrating. Or
Now
I'm
you
just
know, now you feel for DM Hunk.
oh yeah. So yes, damn hunk. Okay, so Cody immediately gets into the conversation. He mentions that The Rock mentioned the conversation, so he said, "Yep, you're right. We did have talks, but you're spinning what we talked about, and you're spinning the conversation like the politician that you are." And he says, that The Rock straight up said to him, "The people don't want to see Cody versus Roman. The people want to see Rock versus Roman." And at the time, Cody being the company guy that he is and feeling, I think he still feels a little bit of imposter syndrome if we're
Oh,
considering
if
this.
you want to look deeper,
Yeah,
I would absolutely if we want to go deeper into that character layer, yeah,
yeah,
imposter syndrome's absolutely there.
yeah. So I think if we're even, if you know, that could even translate into real life. I think that could be partially why he took what The Rock was saying and said, "Okay, I will forfeit the rematch that I wanted from winning the Royal Rumble, and I'll give it to you." And so he said, but things changed at the press conference and at SmackDown after that SmackDown because everybody started chanting, "We want Cody." He didn't even have to say it. Everybody just started chanting it, which I was like, you guys, San Antonio was a great crowd. Shout out to San Antonio for
They
real.
were a really good crowd. I
Um,
did like them.
and you could tell
Very,
Cody was like, Cody took a
very into
slap.
it.
Like he was like, you could tell. I love him though.
So cool.
And he said everybody heard it. He heard it. The higher ups heard it. The Rock heard it. But instead, The Rock decided to call them Cody crybabies. And I loved all the signs that were like, "I'm a proud Cody crybaby." And I was like, same girl, same. Um, and then of course he talks about how he had issued a challenge to The Rock, but The Rock decided to issue a different challenge, which includes his newfound friend, Seth Rollins. So
Incredible.
The Rock,
Incredible we're steering into that. Like what a story there.
you know what? Let me
73.
Oh, I I don't know. Hello, everybody. I don't know who
Holy
retweeted us.
what?
You just look at my Twitter and see who retweeted us. Hello, guys. um. Anyway,
What?
so some aspects. I want you to pay attention to this.
I'm sorry, I just had to see that quick. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
that
go.
shocked me too. So, one thing that I think is interesting before we even get into this whole conversation with Seth and Cody, I really would not be surprised if they put their actual like real life differences aside and did come together because of the way that this panned out. Because you have to think about it from, they were both very competitive because they both wanted to be the top guy, blah, 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 right? And they both felt kind of screwed over by whatever company that they were in, whatever. And I think that that was the basis of why they kind of just didn't get along. I'm sure they're just very similar. And so, a lot of the time, people who have very similar personalities, they don't get along. But when you listen to things that Seth has said over the years, especially when talking about him versus Roman and who was going to be the guy and who got backed up by, Vinnie Mac and was getting that push, Seth has always said he was put on the back burner and he always felt like that was the wrong decision because he felt like he had done everything to be the guy, but they were putting all of their marbles in on Roman. And so it feels like a similar kind of situation here, because it's like
Oh, yeah.
you could almost say that that's kind of what was happening with Cody and Rock, is that they decided we don't care about Cody, we're going with Rock. But even looking at the whole reason for why they reintroduced the world heavyweight title was because people said Roman was holding it hostage, this and this and that. So it's like Seth and Cody have come together over mutual trauma. That's like what I feel like. But
That's where some of the best friends that's where some of the best friendships have flourished, seriously. I
well,
mean, if that's what's gonna take, and that also feels, you know, adds a little bit more to it too, you know?
especially because I mean, it was only what 2 years ago where they were having that trilogy, and they hated each other, and I feel like there was not a single time where Cody was talking about Seth where he wasn't saying I don't like him. I don't like him. Like, we don't like each other. And so it's like it's kind of wild to see how much that has shifted. And I really do think it's like a real story. Like, I don't say that they're best buddies or anything, but there's
Yeah.
definitely a different vibe between them. So
Oh,
I
this is business. This
yeah,
is straight business, yeah.
but I definitely just it was something that I thought about when I was watching this segment, because I was like, no, they're definitely bonding over this trauma
Oh,
that has
they're
been.
absolutely bonding over trauma.
Yeah.
It's
So
100% apparent.
Seth comes out, and Cody immediately thanks him for having his back, first of all, and he says he wasn't expecting a PowerPoint presentation on the bloodline
It was a
family
good
tree.
PowerPoint. It was a great PowerPoint.
I mean, sure. And but he said, but once they insulted the Rhodes family and said that they were better than the Rhodes, he said all bets were off. And that is basically why he stormed out during the Vegas press conference and demanded that he had his rightful match back, which I don't know if you noticed that Seth was like super into that, because he was like, yes, sir,
He
that
was,
is your
yeah.
match.
I didn't wanna face you, yes.
Yeah, I didn't want to lose to you again, Cody.
No.
So he says that he knows that Seth may not be that interested anymore in having his back, since The Rock did propose this tag match that involves him, especially because he now knows that he has to face Drew McIntyre. So that is something that he needs to focus on. But Seth said this entire thing is bigger than that. It is too big for us. We need to take down the bloodline. Like, it doesn't matter. I will take care of Drew. That is not a problem. He says him and Roman came in at the same time, referencing 10 years ago when the Shield, my babies, that they came in and their whole purpose was to take the power back from the top and give it back to the people. And Roman has now become the power at the top, and has no clear time in the future of giving that up. So the only thing that they can do is to try to strip him of that power, which they can do together at WrestleMania. He says that he is completely over The Rock and that he hasn't even been cool for like 20 years. And he
Bullshit
calls him
lie.
Well, I mean, in WWE, I guess, like,
Yeah,
consistently,
maybe
but,
in
like,
your universe, all
no,
right?
no, 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 not my no, I'm saying, like, when
No,
he was
maybe in
consistent.
Seth Rollins'
Oh,
universe,
no, see, this is
okay?
this is just a this is low-hanging fruit. He doesn't mean this. And he said he calls him Diarrhea Dwayne and says everything that comes out of his mouth is like runny baby poop. And he says that we'll get back to that in a second. He reveals
Oh,
that
we're
he
gonna
is
get back to that.
100% medically cleared. So he will be at SmackDown this week to join Cody to confront the bloodline because The Rock will be there. And I assume Roman will be too. So that's exciting. Um, the thing that is, I guess I want to hear your take on this because there were some wild reactions to the Diarrhea Dwayne comment. And I think the reason for his comment is going over people's heads. I don't think that people really realized why he was saying it.
Was it because it's like a cheesy thing and that's what The Rock's
That's what The
get
Rock does.
yeah, that's what I thought, okay,
Because then
I'm alright.
there were
Circle
two
gets the square.
yeah, there were way too many people that were then comparing it to suffering succotash,
Oh,
and it's
I've
like,
seen that, that's all I've seen all day. That's all I've
and
seen
I'm
all day.
like, no, the problem is Roman was being dead ass serious with suffering succotash.
That was his best weapon in the arsenal.
Yeah, that was something he had been like holding on to all day. Like he was like, "Yep, I'm gonna get him with this
I'm gonna
one."
pull it out.
This
I'm gonna
was
pull it out.
yeah, this was Seth trying to be like mimic how The Rock does promos. Like y'all are applauding the man for calling people who are Cody fans Cody crybabies. Please explain to me how that is like
That's
miles
the
better than Diarrhea Dwayne.
that's the parallel. Like,
Yes, so that's
it's
what
in
I mean.
front of
It's
us,
like
guys. It's in front of us.
it's exactly what The Rock does. He comes up with these nicknames for people and they're always silly. Hello, guys. He was just on SmackDown calling people meth heads and crack
Yeah,
addicts. Like, come on.
When Cody said, to sum it up, pretty much called you guys meth heads, the second time I heard like, the first time I heard it, I went, "Yeah, he did." But then when I heard it today rewatching it, I'm like, "Oh, that, like" it seems so like it hits a little like, "Ooh, like, that's not here." You know what I mean?
It's a little risque, I think, for
But
today. But I
it's late '90s Attitude Era type of vibe where, like,
yeah.
you gotta be a little bit more creative with your wordplay.
Well, but see that I think that's why when I said earlier that I wasn't like super entertained by The Rock anymore, I think it's just because it's not a knock on him because I was a huge fan of The Rock. The guy was my first crush as a little wrestling fan. I think it's
It's
just
my
like
hero.
he's and this is the thing, you either you love it or you don't, right? Because we're in a new era. This kind of stuff is not the way that people cut promos anymore, and so it's not like what he's doing is necessarily bad. It's just like that's not the era we're in anymore, but that's his mindset because that was the era he was a part of. And so
Mhm.
if he's going to come back and he's going to be The Rock, then he's going to be The Rock. So it's like he's going to go full into that mode. And so it's like I can't hate on him for that. It's just for me like my preference is like I'm not super into it, but obviously people eat it up, and that's why I
Yeah.
feel like it's ironic that then those people who love what The Rock is doing and saying were then trying to put down Seth and saying it was like one of the worst things he's ever said in his career. And I'm like, what are we doing? What
Yeah,
are we
I don't
doing here? But
just I don't know. I agree.
Um, I know I talked a lot. I'm very sorry, but is there anything that you wanted to say about this segment? Like,
No, you pretty much summed it up, and my comments already were pretty much how I felt. I mean, it
okay,
was good. I like the only thing I don't think you mentioned that I did like a lot from it was how Cody's like, and you mentioned my dog Rock, don't you
I
ever, and
know.
got so serious. Looked dead into
You
the
don't
camera,
talk about Pharaoh.
and he was like, "You
Don't
don't talk about my dog."
talk about
I
Pharaoh.
maybe like maybe I need a dog when I'm older like that. That's like my dog. You know
All
what I
right.
mean?
Also, what do you mean by older?
You know, not I feel younger.
Okay, that
Okay?
I
I
mean, he's
feel like
only like 10 years
24.
older than you. So, let's not
Cody?
yeah.
When I say older, I mean like doing this full time and stuff and having my own place, like married with like a kid.
Okay, cuz I'm like Cody's not even 40, brother. Slow down.
Mm.
Do you want to
Cody's
get to
younger than my brothers. That's crazy.
comments or no? I saw
Um,
we have a
we have a
bunch.
lot. Let me go up here a little bit because a lot of them are reactions
I know.
um to what we've said, but then we already explained it. So like, what I mean. Uh
Mm.
now I'm saying that saw Cody as another star stealing Seth's shine and position in WWE, but Seth hates Roman more, so he'll help Cody to finally get back at Roman. See, that's what makes a good story are two people that don't get along, but they put aside their personal differences and go after a common enemy. That's a heroic team that gets shit done.
I also saw people floating the idea. I don't think it's going to happen about Seth costing Cody the title.
No,
I don't see
I
that.
that's too Vince.
Yeah, I think we're beyond that. I think
It's VKM.
yeah, it's just not that's not the way to go about it, but a lot of us are still in that mentality because how can you not be, you know?
Oh no, it's Stockholm syndrome for sure.
Oh yeah. All right, so then we get straight into our first match of the night, which was Dom Dom versus Gunther, and boy, oh boy, was it a chop fest. I feel like I can't rant. I've already ranted a lot, but this was a great match. I think you don't expect anything less when you're talking about Gunther, so it's like I don't even have to touch on that. Okay, I think that
Well, this
people
was
severely underrate Dom Dom though. I think that this was like uh an example match for everybody who doesn't exactly understand how far Dom has come in the
oh
ring,
yeah.
especially. Um, so this was a great showing for him, and I mean, you thought that maybe he was going to be involved in the match, the eventual match that we'll talk about for the IC title, but someone else is instead. I guess this was his shot, but I don't recall it being a title match. They never said it was a title match. Um,
Did they
but
make it a title match?
I don't, not that I know of. So that's
I
why I'm
think
kind
it
of,
was.
they didn't say that he retained. They didn't say, and still, like, they didn't say that. Not that I
Yeah, all
remember.
right. Now, because when I first watched, I'm like, oh, it's a qualifier match, and
Yeah.
then
I
like
don't,
for some reason the way it was presented, you know what it was that confused me? They came back from commercial break with Sam introducing Dom, and the lights were down in that championship,
yeah. Yeah.
presentation.
hmm
So because of that, your mind just thinks
You know what?
championship.
I would kind of almost say that it was like, um, it was like him trying to prove that he could be in the number one contender match. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like what it was. It was like Dom is going to be in this match to prove that he deserves to be in the match to become the number one contender. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's almost
exactly.
like that was it. I don't know. But yeah, it was a
Yeah,
great match.
qualifier match.
It's Gunther, guys. I mean, it is what it is. Um,
It's
uh,
the poor lad.
I know.
Jesus Christ. He
I
was getting his shit chopped.
Yeah, everybody in the chat is like, Dom got worked. Yeah.
I mean,
But this is the thing. Then you have to look at it's something that I don't like, but that's because I mean, I guess I'm a Dominic fan too, because I do give him praise. I love Judgment Day, but um I'm a bigger Gunther fan, and my biggest issue was how much offense he was getting in on Gunther. I didn't particularly love that. I kind it's one of those things where it's like there's a fine line between a squash match and what we saw, you know what I mean? And I feel like
mhm.
I didn't want to see a Gunther squash match because Dominic is far above being
Yeah.
on the receiving end of that, but I also don't want to see Gunther taking a 619. So,
Yeah, I agree. Once I saw that it wasn't just the 619 and he got the pin and, false count, and it was like 619 rolls out of the frog splash, whatever. Yeah, frog splash he's gonna do.
mhm. Mhm.
Like, that's fine. Okay. Like I get it. And you do need Dom to show a little bit like that he can knock Gunther off his feet. Not necessarily knock him down, because I think knock him off his feet and knock him down are two completely different things.
Mhm.
So, and the way that Dom has been viewed and, treated by the crowd, it could be at that point
Mhm.
where he would be getting stale and just getting booed to get booed. and people forget like when he's in the ring that he can work, he can do a job, and he's got a incredible future in front of him. And
Mhm.
it was this type of match that showed that. Like, yeah, he got in some offense and did his moves, but he was just an absolute rag doll
Yeah.
for 90% of that match. And Gunther comes out like, all right, these 6, 8, 10 dudes all want to fight Gunther. Did you not see what this man had it just did to Dom Dom?
Yeah.
Get this
Well,
kid some chicken tendies.
yeah, because basically the only one that we'll talk about in the match that's like big is Bronson. So it's like all of them were just looking at Dom like that'll be me, you know.
Yeah.
Um all right, and then we move on to there was a lot of drama going on between the women's tag
Lot
division.
of I want to get some comments here.
Oh, okay, hold on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Um, I mean, Kervin saying what a great match it was.
What is a
It
great
was
to good match? Is what he said.
I would say maybe like in the C range.
Is that what he's I don't remember
Maybe
what it
B
what
minus if you're feeling good, if you're feeling happy. Dom does not get the credit he deserves,
he
dude.
doesn't.
I
That's why
cannot
I'm
agree
saying
with it.
that's what I'm saying. I think
Cannot.
part of it is this is the issue that we run into a lot and I talk about it is that people can't put aside their biases towards wrestlers that they don't like or don't necessarily care for because they can't credit them for actually like how good they are. And that is something that I've had to, since being a wrestling fan for as long as I have, you kind of have to you have to change your mindset a bit, but I feel like that comes
Mhm.
with age. Like, yeah, when you're like 9 years old and you're watching wrestling, you hate Gunther because he's the bad guy. So you say he sucks. But like at the end of the day, no, he doesn't. And the same thing can be said for Dominic. People just hate him. They love to boo him and they can't look past that. So they just say he sucks. But he actually has come so far. Like, I dare you to watch some of his stuff before he joined Judgment Day and look at where he is now. Like, come on now.
Yeah. It was getting pretty low
Or
just
even
hanging with his dad. He'd be in the LWO right now. Like, think about that.
some of the stuff from when he first joined Judgment Day. It's like night and day. And I think that yeah, he deserves more credit for that because he's playing the role perfectly, but he's come a long way.
Where was it? Um, That was when Dom threw his gum at Pat McAfee.
I okay, I'm not a big fan of Pat McAfee, you know that on commentary. But him him the last couple weeks, I just died in the Gunther Jey Uso match
Oh my
where he's on the
god.
desk yeeting, and then he gets caught by Gunther. And then this week he's on the desk and being like, "That's right, Gunther, you're the man, Dom. You suck."
He's
Like,
standing up, doing this, the
yes,
fist up and like Imperium pose like
yes,
that.
I love
Oh my,
that.
he's so funny. That's why he's so gold on commentary.
I really like that we're seeing. I mean, I think it's been a process, obviously, so I'm not saying this is new, but with McAfee, it's a little bit more new. I like that we're seeing more personality with the commentators, like I think
Way more.
McAfee kind of helped break that door down. Obviously, we're seeing a lot more unscripted, unplanned stuff with Michael Cole. And we saw it a lot with Wade Barrett too. He's been doing that as well. I love it because I feel like it gives you more of a reason to even want to listen to the commentary because obviously
Yes.
they're doing a job, but like usually you're just listening and you're like, okay, like if you miss something, you heard it. But this is actually like entertaining. Like it's hilarious. This stuff is funny.
I watch Raw with headphones now
mm,
because I want to hear the
mm-hmm.
commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a huge upgrade. And it's because of the two commentary teams. I'm not even saying just Raw.
Yeah.
Every show, like NXT, I want to hear Booker and Vic. I want to hear Cody, Corey
Mm-hmm.
and Wade on SmackDown. It's like the dynamics. They finally found a good wave, and let's keep it because it's really doing well.
Yeah. No, I agree. 100%. So as I was saying, there's a lot of drama within the women's tag division, which I am here for because I mean, the problem is, of course, they're probably only doing it because we're in the lead up to WrestleMania, but we got to take it. We got to take the wins when we get them. Okay.
Come on. Let's get
So
to
we knew that this was going to happen because we saw that segment backstage with Damage Control. They were all there, and Adam Pearce is like, "What are you doing here?" And they were like, "We're just here to scout. Like, we're just here because the tag team champions could go
It's
wherever." Blah blah
combine
blah.
season, Sarah. You know
Yeah.
this. It's combine season. Got to scout.
So we see them sit on commentary during Katana and Kaden versus Shayna and Zoe. And this was a fairly quick match, which I was kind of bummed about for Kaden and Katana, but it is what it is. They clearly want to push Shayna and Zoe, it looks like, which I feel like
Strong. It's the strong. It's the
it's the
strong. Like I can
yeah,
punch
but
you.
it's it's just kind of like, all right, we get it. Like you have nothing for either of them, so you put them together. It's like a tale as old as time. This is just what they do. So it is what it
Tale
is.
old as time.
So Damage Control come into the ring after the match is over, and Dakota gets on the mic saying that they are going to be coming to Raw next week after the Kabuki Warriors successfully retain their tag team championships at NXT. And so they will see Shayna and Zoe next week, and they will be leaving them crying, just like they did Bailey, which I was like, perfect way to get some heat on Raw because you're bringing up Bailey and everyone loves Bailey.
Everybody loves Bailey now.
Shayna immediately steps up to them, of course, and they back off a little bit, and they're like, "Oh shit!" And Shayna's just like, "Okay, we'll see you next week." And it was like, "Oh, okay."
And they don't scare Shayna. All right,
No,
let's.
no,
You
come on.
kidding me?
Shayna is
No.
scarier than any other woman in that division. I don't
I'm
care.
scared of Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, people saying it's like Nia Jax. No,
No, I don't
Nia's
fear Nia
scary. She
Jax.
can squash you, but like,
And she's not like most girls
Shayna knows how to kill you. So
in multiple ways.
and literally kill you. Like
In
that's not even an exaggeration. Like
multiple ways.
yeah. And then we see some stuff in the back, so more drama. We see this whole thing between Natty and Tegan, so they're beefing because, of course, we saw.
I'm over that.
I
I
know,
have no. You can continue talking about it. I'm so over Natty and Tegan, and I
I
love
know.
Tegan.
Yeah.
Love Tegan Knox.
So because Natty threw Tegan out at the Royal Rumble, we see some drama with Candice and Indy because something's a little off with Candice LeRae. We don't know what it is, but something's off. We see Maxine and Ivy Nile come in to try and be supportive to Candice and Indy, but
that didn't work.
Candice wants none of it. And I feel like they're kind of going off of the controversial booing of Maxine because Candice immediately goes into like, I don't need any advice from someone who's only had what, like 3 matches? Like,
Oh yeah,
you can't even lace my boots. And I was like, ooh,
they're
girl.
absolutely leaning into the skin of that.
Oh yeah. So all of this is going on, and then of course we know that they're gonna end up coming up with some sort of women's tag title match. Something is going to happen. I don't know if we're going to get like tag team turmoil to determine a number 1 contender. Are we going to get a multi-women's match? I kind of feel like it almost depends on what they do with the men's tag titles, which is not clear at this point either. So I don't know. I thought, weren't we supposed to get an announcement about the men's tag titles? Was that supposed to happen on Raw?
No, that was a SmackDown.
Okay. I thought that he
No,
said he had to
we
talk
didn't
to
talk
Pierce.
about it. That's why.
Okay. I just can't
We didn't.
remember.
It's all this.
Okay.
Mentioned
So
it too.
okay.
The new Catch Republic.
The new Catch Republic.
New Catch Republic. All right, that's what I thought. Good.
Yeah, so I assume it just means what we've been talking about is they're going to split the tag titles. So, or unify them. I still don't think it's worth unifying, but
No, don't you? We already have a perfect example of why you don't unify tag titles is happening tonight at NXT Roadblock with the Kabuki Warriors taking on Lyra and Tatum Paxley. I love the duo, but really?
But the problem is too is the issue that they have because of the tag titles being unified will be the same issue as if they completely bring it down to one title. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
You're saying it's because they're not able to go to Raw and SmackDown. There's too many tag teams that want to get involved in the title picture. Okay, so then you eliminate an entire show's tag team titles and think that's going to solve the problem. It's going to be the exact same issue. So I hope that's not what happens, but we'll have to see. And then sticking with the women's division, we see Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax. I mean, this was, I think, a match that we were expecting. It was a good match. It was a hard match. The finish, I think, is, like I said, it's what we expected. You knew that Liv was not going to be sitting in the back just watching this match, being like,
Not a
okay,
chance.
yeah, I'm not mad at Becky anymore. No, of course. Of course not. Liv comes out. She makes sure to get involved. She makes sure that it ends in a DQ. Her and Becky go at it. They jaw at each other because, of course, Becky's like, what are you doing? I needed to finish this match. Like, this was my moment to finally get Nia off my back, and you took it away. So she confronts Liv in the back, telling her, last week it had nothing to do with you. The reason that I came into this match with against Nia was because of what she did to me earlier in the night. This had nothing to do with you. I wasn't basically Liv was collateral damage, is what Becky was saying. Liv not buying it. Liv is just like, I
Liv
don't
don't care. It's no revenge tour, baby.
girl, don't care. And then Becky's like, how about we settle this? We'll just have a fight of our own next week. And Liv says, yeah. So we're going to see Liv versus Becky Lynch next week, which I'm intrigued. And I saw Richard ask this earlier, so I guess we can talk about it because I did see a lot of people talking about it. Do you think that this is just going to be a temporary feud? Like we talked about, there's going to be filler feuds matches between now and Mania because it's 4.5 weeks away. Like they can't not have something of substance happening in that meantime. Or do you think that this is like, do they not think that Becky versus Rhea is a big enough match? So they might add Liv, or they might make it a fatal 4-way and then throw Nia in. Like, is that what we're going to do?
No, 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 no. They have no idea what to do with the other top women in the car in on the roster who are not involved in the tag picture.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, you're just, elongating a feud that you could have, stopped a month or two back. And you have to get Liv back into the mix with her returning at the Rumble. You want her on Mania, so you can't just be like, all right, we got nothing for you.
Mm.
See ya. No, you got to utilize her. And this is the best way to do it because say that Becky wins,
Mm-hmm.
it's boom, your first feud back in the title picture. Okay, after Becky, because she's the man rules, demands a rematch at Backlash or whatever the pay per view is after. Well, then Liv's the next one up. Or
Yeah.
even if she doesn't invoke that clause, Liv is the next one up for Rhea because the story's in place. So all it is just like internet cables just overlapping right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. It to me, I don't see an issue with it because it makes sense for why they're feuding. It makes sense why she ran in and DQ'd. It makes sense to have a false finish with Nia and Nia and Becky, especially with WrestleMania being a little bit too far away right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Nia Jax pin needs to happen like the week of or like 2 weeks before to really give her that momentum heading into Mania. And I remember us being mad that Nia won the last time they fought. I'm pretty sure she won. I would have someone would have to double check
I
me
don't
on that.
I don't
But
even
if
know.
I think she won, which makes it
Yeah.
even more so a huge victory heading into Mania. So that's why you want to hold off on it.
Yeah, I think that I had Richard's comment up here. I think he has a point to an extent, but I think that's the problem a lot of the time with how Royal Rumble winners, how it goes with Royal Rumble winners, because the Royal Rumble is like, 2.5, 3 months before Mania.
No,
And
yeah.
that's a lot of time to fill on a feud that you can't address right now because there's only so much that you can do in a feud without having a match. Like the
Mm-hmm.
match is like the end or it's like the middle of a feud. And if you can't have that match on television before it happens at Mania, because then why am I going to pay attention to Mania?
Exactly.
So I think that we might see some of this, and this might become of something. Maybe Liv gets involved, or maybe Liv versus Nia, and they determine who's the number one contender for whoever wins. I don't know. Something they're trying to figure it out, and they might not even know yet. But I don't buy the theory of Becky and Rhea is not a big enough match. I think they are. It's just they're running into the same issue that they did last year when it was going to be Rhea Charlotte. They weren't doing anything with that until like a week before Mania, and then people were invested. So I think that's kind of like, unfortunately, the same route that they're taking this year, as if they didn't learn their lesson last year. But whatever, I guess.
It,
Um.
We have 100 people watching us right now.
I
That
know. I
is,
don't think that's an accurate number though. If you look on YouTube, it says that it was like 9. So
yeah. YouTube's at 11. Your Twitter's at 79, and my Twitter's at 10.
I know. I just meant I actually looked on YouTube and it
Oh,
said
okay.
that. So I don't know. It's crazy. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the
101.
numbers that say at the
Yeah,
end.
I don't know. I understand Io versus Bailey storyline, but for Becky versus Rhea, what is the storyline? Who's the best?
I think it's coming down to who's the best, and that this was probably like to some people a fantasy match that they didn't know
Hmm.
when they were going to see, but they don't care. They just want to see it. I think
Hmm.
that's what it is. And I think in certain instances, like the story doesn't have to be there. Like I tend to not agree with that because I don't know how you get invested in a match if there isn't really a story there or a purpose, you know? Um, but I think, yeah, this is just going to be another thing where it's like they were trying to come up with stuff on the fly last year against, Rhea and Charlotte. There, it was just like,
Yeah, look at
oh,
how awful that build was.
yeah.
We,
So
we we've went on record. We're on
yeah,
record saying how awful it was.
yeah. So I think that it's the same situation. It's just that instead of having somewhat of a history between them, the way that Charlotte and Rhea did, this is just like, yeah, our two of our top women in the company, and we need them on the show, and people wanted to see this match, so we're giving it
We're
to
gonna
them.
do it. We're gonna
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. So I think that's all that it is.
Yeah.
Are you getting to more or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, Nia Nia beat Becky at day one.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
thought. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
That's why I was even more intrigued that it ended in a DQ, because now it's like, all right, Becky really does not care about Liv. She has to pin Nia.
Yeah.
Even if you do a multi-women match or triple threat match, um, you need to have the final pinfall be Becky over Nia because of that fact now.
Yeah.
Um, no women's storyline without a title. That's just kind of what is happening right now,
That's
which
why.
which sucks.
Well, and they were doing a great job with it. Like Becky was doing a lot of stories without a title
Mhm.
involved. But I feel like that's the biggest drawback of how they book the women's division. It's like they really can't figure out a way to establish a solid story that isn't revolving around the women's title. And that's a problem that I've talked about forever, because it's like you only have 2 titles for the women. You don't have like 6 the way you do for the men. So it's like, okay, even if they're not in the world title picture, well, they could still be competing for a mid title. It's why we've advocated for the women to have mid card titles, because then it actually gives more of them a purpose, to have these random matches. You're not questioning why this is
Mhm.
happening. It's like, no, it's like, okay, they're climbing the ladder of like, oh, now they can go after this title. It's just, I don't know. It's something that they still haven't figured out yet, and I don't really understand why, but
I don't either.
okay. Are we still going or no?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. I wanted to talk about this because I'm a big old fan of Andrade. Okay, I don't care if you guys aren't. I'm telling you why you should. So first of all, hello Andrade, sick ass entrance. Are we?
He's got a good entrance. He's got
I
a
was.
very good entrance.
I give credit to San Antonio because they were a great crowd, but they were not a great crowd during this, because why did it take them until he took off his mask for them to react? Like, you couldn't see it said Andrade on the screen, so they needed to have him take off the mask to be like, oh wait, yeah, it's Andrade. Like, what?
Maybe they're building to it. Maybe they're just building up a little bit.
I don't know. I don't know. I was just like, I love it. I'm so fascinated by it. I liked his presentation last time. I think that it just didn't translate from NXT to the main roster, and part of that is going to be because Vince probably didn't like him. That's probably what it all comes down to.
Absolutely. No,
Um,
I wouldn't say he didn't like him. Didn't know how to book him.
well, I say I think it's the same thing. Like if you like somebody, you're going to book them well. If you don't really care about somebody or don't really believe in them, then you're
True.
not going to book them
Okay.
well. So I just view it as the same. Um, anyway, so I loved his entrance. I felt like that is like potential, like to the top of the card type of entrance, if I'm being honest. Fans were behind him. He was eating that up, which I was very happy for him. I feel like he can be a great babyface in this company, and we haven't seen that, because his first run, they were trying to make him a bad guy, almost like
Well, yeah, he
Legato
was
before
feuding against
Legato.
yeah, he was feuding against Ray.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it, but of course it's like such low hanging fruit. Like, why do you got to just always have these guys with similar wrestling backgrounds and styles just go against each other because they both wore masks? Like, okay, like what are we doing?
That's culture.
What? But I mean, come on, dude. Like,
It's
whatever.
culture, Sarah.
Throw Sammy in there. Sammy used to wear a mask. Why is he not involved? I'm joking.
Copyright infringement.
So I have high hopes. I'd like to believe that because he was part of the black and gold era in NXT, that we are going to see Triple H do the right thing by Andrade. Because I really do think that, like, if they book him right, that they can actually have him be kind of like what they were doing with Dragon Lee. And I say Dragon Lee because he's a similar guy, but like then his whatever happened to him, I don't know what happened. They brought him back
He
down.
got hurt.
Oh, he did. Okay,
I think he did get hurt.
Okay. Well, anyway, I do think that if they go about things the right way, that Andrade could be a good babyface because he was even, using the Eddie shimmy, he was doing the Three Amigos. Like, come on. And he's always done that. I'm not saying he hasn't, but I really feel like this was a better start to his second run in WWE. So I really hope that they're able to like take advantage of it because people actually responded to him a lot better than I thought they were going to. And he's so
They did.
good. He was so good.
He was very good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Apollo Crews had to be in the squash, but I guess he was on TV. Is that?
That's all I got. I'm not gonna lie. I fell asleep during this match and skipped over it.
It was
because
his entrance took long. Their entrances took longer than the match. So that'll tell you.
That tells you. Like after the Braun Breaker thing.
Yeah. I do like squash matches that like involve somebody that you are familiar with though.
Really? Does he need a squash match?
Well, this is just how it is. You know what I mean? Like, does Braun Breaker? No. Like, he was like the longest reigning NXT champion. Technically, no, he does not, is what I mean. But
I think we just want to see him just spear someone so effing hard and then get a 3 count. And when it comes to Andrade, we want to see him like actually wrestle and perform art.
Well,
you know
that's gonna happen eventually. Anyway, so Adam Pearce had been teasing all night that they were going to make an announcement about the Intercontinental Championship and what their plans were for the title at WrestleMania. And eventually he decides to let us know that they will be having a gauntlet match, which we've been talking about for a few weeks at this point. And I was a little bit more shocked by, I think, the participants in it. I was thinking that there was going to be different people, but it is what it is. So he announced that it'll be Chad Gable versus Sami Zayn versus Ricochet versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus JD McDonough versus Bronson Reed on Raw next week, right?
It's going to be next week.
Yeah. So now we know one of these guys is going to be facing Gunther at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title. And I think everybody has basically come down to the same conclusion. Is it going to be Sami Zayn or Chad Gable?
Better be
Sami Zayn.
I don't know, Sarah.
So
I'm torn.
They were all trying to tell their story, right? They were all trying to convince everybody why it should be them. We had Ricochet, who's just like, I want this match. And of course, we have to remember that Gunther took the title off Ricochet. So there's that connection. We had Sammy do an interview after his win, and he was talking about how he knew that his path to WrestleMania was going to present itself, and it has presented itself in this, and that this is the only way that he is going to get to WrestleMania. Before we get into what Gable said, do you find some similarities between how they're booking Sammy to how they were booking Seth 2 years ago for Mania? Acting like he's not going to be on the Mania card. He's not going to have a match at Mania.
It's just that guy every year. There's always that star. There's always that person that everyone wants to see on Mania. And it's like and it's an easy story to lead up. The only difference with Sammy and Seth is that Sammy you could put in anything and it'd be like, all right, Sammy's on the card. All right, sweet. But like Seth, it's like, really? It's got to be a big match. Now we're entering the territory for Sami Zayn that he kind of needs to be in a big match.
I just wonder, like, because my preference would be for Sammy to face Gunther. I mean, I guess I don't really care because I want Gunther to win anyway, so I don't really care who he faces, as long as he wins. But I wonder if they're going to go with this. Like, if Sammy doesn't win, are they going to keep going with this, and then we're going to kind of see a Seth Rollins 2.0 type of storyline, which I. It's hard to say because I think when the more and more time that went on with Seth, people knew that it was because Cody was coming back. And so you knew, okay, Seth's going to face Cody. Like, people knew, right? That was
People
going to
knew
be his
that,
mystery
yeah.
opponent. We don't have that this year with Sammy. It's not like we can be like, oh, he's going to face Okada. You know what I mean? Like, we already know Okada's not coming back.
I'm gonna see
So
Okada soon.
yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, I'm curious if that's the direction they're going to go in, and if they do, what he actually does end up doing at WrestleMania. I'll be interested to see that. And then we also see Chad Gable trying to convince us that it should be him. Basically, it's just like blah blah blah. I'm sick of you, Gunther. Your condescending smile is so annoying. This match means more to me because you said I was a bad dad and made my daughter cry. And I was just like, boo friggin' who? That's what I said. Boo
Can I just say
friggin'
that I
who?
love your just absolute hatred with Chad Gable playing the father card.
I
It's
would
so funny.
I would be Gunther. I wouldn't say he was a bad dad, but I'd be like, I don't
No,
care. I don't
yeah,
care. I don't care, brother.
yeah,
I did my job and I did it well, and your little girl cried.
yeah. I
Boo
like
hoo,
it's
brother.
so
Boo hoo.
funny that all these guys are giving these reasons about how tough they are and how they can compete. And Chad Gable just out here being like, you disrespect me in front of my daughter, I'm going to end you. Like, that's the reason. Like, I don't know. I kind of love it, but I'm also Mr. Positivity. So
Well, and I
I
understand. I
get
see
it.
people in the comments being like, Chad Gable and Gunther have more
We
of a
got we
story. I
got
hear you
Gable
guys.
time. We
No.
got
You know what?
Gable is kind of like Kofi Mania, Sarah.
No. But this is
Sarah is
okay.
like Kofi Mania.
I'm gonna reiterate my point of why Gunther cannot lose. Okay, we have a video on this. I talked about this on a different stream,
Okay.
but I'm gonna reiterate it again because I had this conversation with somebody earlier.
Okay.
Gunther cannot lose because they would have no plans for him post Mania. Maybe he gets his rematch with Chad Gable if that's who it is, Sami Zayn, whoever, and then what? He's going to lose. They're not going to take the title off him at WrestleMania and give it back to him 3 weeks later. That's not happening because then what would be the point of even doing that to either of them? That doesn't make any sense. The belief, of course, is that Seth Rollins is going to lose to Drew McIntyre. So if Drew McIntyre becomes World Heavyweight Champion, he'll have his rematch with Seth Rollins. And, the person I was speaking to earlier was like, yeah, well, imagine Gunther being in a world heavyweight title match at Bash in Berlin. Like, that would be sick. And I'm like, that ain't happening. That's not happening, guys. Punk will be back by then, probably. You really think that Punk's gonna come back and take a back seat to Gunther so that he can face Drew McIntyre? Let's be real.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I think you would.
Drew McIntyre is still trolling CM Punk fans. He's still talking crap about CM Punk. They are not going to have CM Punk come back and be like, "I'll deal with Drew McIntyre later." No,
No, he's
he's
gonna
going to be
drill them
coming
down.
straight for
That's
Drew's
true.
throat immediately. And you really think
Yeah.
that he's going to say
They're building it up as such. Okay,
Gunther
I
deserves
missed it.
this title match before me? No, absolutely not. So that's the thing. If you're not going to transition Gunther from being the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion straight into the World Heavyweight title picture, you're telling me that Gunther should be cast aside. You're fine with Gunther being on this pedestal, making the Intercontinental Championship relevant and desirable almost more so than the World Heavyweight title. And then you're going to take the title off of him for whatever flavor of the week, Chad Gable. And then you're going to just put him on the back burner because, he'll be there eventually. Really? That's what you want?
Yeah. No, I agree. I just
Guys, you're not gonna convince me. You're not gonna convince me whatsoever. I don't see it. I don't see it. And I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
We get it.
I want him in the world heavyweight title picture, 100%. But what you're telling me is he loses the Intercontinental title and then he gets put below the mid card because that's what would be happening, because he wouldn't be able to face anybody for the world heavyweight title. They're not going to have Drew McIntyre versus Gunther. They're not going to do that. So that's my rant.
That would be a bash in Berlin for sure, though.
I just
See what I
don't.
did there?
That's two heels going against each other. I just don't. I don't know. I think that Gunther should be involved in some big match at Bash in Berlin. Of course I do. But I just don't know that they would do that instead of having Punk versus Drew McIntyre. Like, that isn't happening. But I mean, we did see heel group versus heel group last night. Imperium versus Judgment Day. This was a hard one for me. This was a hard match for me.
I know all your boys.
So they made this seem like, I think that when Judgment Day won, they were like, and still the tag team champions, and I was like, no one said this was a tag team title match. I'm very confused.
I didn't see, that was the other one. I was like, I didn't think this was a tag team match, title match.
Yeah, I don't know if they just didn't introduce it or Samantha is just like used to saying it. I don't know.
I think she is.
But this was a great match. I loved it. Don't love that Vinci was the one pinned, but that's just the joke.
He got destroyed.
I know.
But what to happen.
The interesting part of this was two heel tag teams going against each other, right? So obviously it's a little problematic because it's like, who do I root for? The fact that Judgment Day was being rooted for,
incredible.
Okay, I get why, right? You want to cheer for somebody, so you're going to cheer for the lesser of two evils, and I guess to them, Imperium was the bigger evil. But I find it interesting because Mommy gets cheered for. Finn, and I mean, they were chanting for Finn specifically.
They were chanting for Finn.
And then they were also cheering for Damien. I'm like, are we gonna get a Judgment Day babyface turn? Because I'm like, if this might have just been the circumstances, and that's why they were cheering for Judgment Day. It's completely possible. But I'm just like, if this keeps happening, it's like Tiffany Stratton. Like, people are talking about, like, they might have to turn Tiffany because the crowd is not reacting to her the way they were hoping. And I'm like, if this keeps happening with Judgment Day, that might be the case with them too.
To me, what's crazy is how Imperium goes into the heel category in this match and becomes the hated.
I know.
Just because they are, like, associated with Gunther? Is it because they just give off that pompous attitude? And Judgment Day is like, we kick ass and we're cool. And I get it, but don't. Because I don't agree with it. Like, I would be all in on Imperium.
It's interesting just because of the difference in how much camera time each team gets. Like, we don't hear much from Imperium. The ones who do most of the talking is Gunther. So, like, the hatred has to just be, like, guilty by association, because Judgment Day has done a lot more things that you would get people to hate them. But that wasn't the case. So that's why I'm like, it's probably just a one-off.
People love Judgment Day. There's it's the R-Truth effect.
No, I think it's also Mommy. It's Rhea.
I mean, Mommy is just,
I know. I'm like, I'm sure it was just a one-off, but it is very interesting. But yeah. Okay, then we get into the first inductee for the 2024 WWE Hall of Fame is Paul Heyman. And I was a little bit surprised about it just because I was like, it's always interesting when they induct people who are still active. I'm not saying he's not deserving. It's just funny given, like, the storyline that Paul Heyman's involved in. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. But I'm excited. I think this was a great first inductee announcement. And I think everyone's going to be excited to see what he has to say and who inducts him. And people have already said, like, give him an hour, like, let him say whatever he wants. Let him talk as long as he wants.
I don't care.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is a good one. And I think I would like to believe that he will be just the first of many great inductees this year.
I think we're gonna have an incredible lineup if we're starting off with Paul Heyman as our, and that's the thing. He's the keynote or number one,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it really shouldn't be.
yeah.
But
Well,
because postmortem, I get it, but he would
mhm,
be one in any other case. But it's also Philly.
yeah.
There's a lot of things that could happen to make this like a legendary Hall of Fame class.
I hope that we get real Paul Heyman because
Oh,
Paul.
Paulie?
Yeah, I hope we get because
You want Paulie dangerous?
because Paul is really good at never breaking character, so you really never know who's talking. It's always
Mhm.
like, okay, this is Paul Heyman. This is the wise man. This is the advocate. But when he talks about his career and his love and passion for ECW and like how thankful he is for the company and all of the wrestlers he worked with, like he gets emotional. He tears up. Uh and
Yeah.
I would love to see that side of him regardless of what is going on with Roman and whatever. Like I would like to see like a genuine
Yeah.
moment from Paul, just because we don't get to see it that often. And even if people say that the Hall of Fame means nothing, because there isn't a physical building or whatever, I think it does mean something to people and wrestlers. It's an honor. And so I can only imagine that he will feel that, because if it wasn't viewed that way, then they wouldn't keep doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I hope the next one is Bray Wyatt. That's all I have to say. I hope the next
It's gotta
person
be.
is
That's
Bray Wyatt.
yeah.
And then we move into Ivar versus Sami Zayn. But who cares, right? I mean, no, I'm just kidding. Great match, whatever. It was a fine
It
match.
was an unbelievable
The
match.
main thing that we're gonna take away from this was Michael Cole stealing the spotlight because Valhalla wanted to break character a little bit, and she decided to crawl her way over to the announcement
This was
desk
awesome.
and take off her antlers to make sure to give them to Michael Cole. And then some provocative jokes ensued, courtesy of Pat McAfee. But Michael
Incredible.
Cole was
I
very
love him.
happy about this, and I loved every second of it because this was not something I was expecting at all. Like,
No, I didn't
not at all.
expect this at all
Yeah.
because you don't know what we're going to get with the Viking Raiders, Ivar, and all them
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not think that the antlers thing was that big yet
The
to the
internet.
point.
The internet.
Well, the internet, like it's incredible how something can blow up like that overnight and then incorporate on the show next week.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that he did commentary with the antlers on. Like it was
Yeah.
just a hilarious moment. And then Bailey responding to the picture he posted, uh, saying never come back to SmackDown.
Yeah.
Like just it was just a great wrestling moment. It really was.
It was.
Thing is heavy.
I just like these kinds of moments too, and I feel like it's not something that necessarily wouldn't have happened like 10 years ago, but I don't think this would have happened 10 years ago because I feel like this is
No.
something where they'd be like, "No, Valhalla, you're supposed to be a heel. You're not supposed to
Why would
be
you
catering to the
interact?
fans or Michael Cole." You know what I mean? Like, so I was thoroughly entertained by this. I just wonder if Michael Cole is going to continue talking about the antlers or if he'll like bring them with him, like when he knows that Ivar is going to be in a match, like if he'll wear them like every time.
They'll be like, I gave you these antlers.
Yeah,
Anytime you go, yes, that would
I
be
think
awesome.
that would be funny. Another funny moment, of course, was Regeneration X. They are still around. They are still going strong, and I think it very much is because of the reaction, of course, from the
Oh,
fans.
it's getting good reaction.
Yeah, and I'm here for it. I know that a lot of people aren't, but I think that this is funny, and it's being able to take advantage of how entertaining R-Truth is, but also how entertaining The Miz is and how entertaining
Like
DIY
they're
is.
also entertaining.
They're all just naturally funny and witty, and so this is a way to incorporate them into a story that is entertaining for most people. Like I think of course it's going to depend on how they move forward with it, because I think it is something that can get old kind of fast. It just depends on how they go about it. If it can keep people
Mhm.
entertained for, I don't know, until WrestleMania or whatever. But I am curious to see what they do, because they did have DIY super involved in the tag team titles, and now they're just in the back playing a video game. So
It's incredible. They gotta
um
promote the game somehow.
yeah, well, and up down down, because
Yeah, he
Xavier
had to
Woods.
have Xavier Woods there.
Yeah. So, curious to see if they're gonna eventually make a T-shirt or something, because they are going with this. So, that's gonna be a
They
hot
need to.
seller. That would be
Oh,
a
that'll
hot
be
seller.
sold out. That'll
Yeah.
be sold out at Mania weekend.
Oh, for sure. I won't buy one, but
I want one.
plenty
I
of you. Of
want one.
course you would. Of
I
course
want
you
one.
would.
You damn right I will.
Um, Yeah, see, Richard says Gargano and Ciampa must be having a great time, constantly being called Shawn Michaels and Triple H. I felt like you could tell Gargano was like in heaven, like he was
That was
laughing
the
so
greatest
much.
compliment he could have possibly got.
Yeah, it's like, and the thing is like it's kind of, it's funny for Truth to say it, but the fact that Ciampa legitimately could look like a smaller version of Triple H makes it even funnier, because it's like it would be funny, I guess, if neither of them looked like Shawn Michaels or Triple H, but the fact that it's like, no, Ciampa's just like a smaller version
That's all it
of
is.
Triple H, it makes it funny. Yeah, okay, we can go to comments afterwards, because we just have the main event to talk about, which is Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso. And we already kind of talked about it, but we'll touch on it again, is that it intertwines like every storyline that's going
Every
on right now.
storyline.
So you kind of knew how this was going to go down, of course. Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso. You knew it was going to end something, the bloodline, right? Because they got to keep doing it. They got to keep hyping up the Uso versus Uso match. So this is a good match. Of course it was, because look who was involved. There's DM Hunk and main event Jey Uso, of course.
They
So
call him Ooze. Oh.
I call him DM Hunk. I don't know. I call him Daddy.
Oh.
Anyway, so then we see Solo get involved, and he doesn't even put his hands on anybody, but he was a distraction long enough for Drew to try and get the win, but it doesn't work until Jimmy gets involved, and that is when Drew is able to take advantage of the distraction to get the win. And then after the match, we see Jimmy grab a chair, and before he is able to really cause any damage to his brother, Seth and Cody come out to save their buddy, their good old pal, Jey Uso. So everything is intertwined in this. So it's really interesting, because I feel like the bloodline stuff, I wouldn't, it's nowhere near where it was last year at this point. Obviously the bloodline
Nowhere
story was
near.
way hotter last year. I think they're trying, hence the whole Rock thing obviously is putting some meat back into the story, because the bloodline was dead and primarily was due to Roman not showing up.
Not showing up.
But I think that because of how much the bloodline is involved in like everything, because now it's like, it's not just Cody, right? It's not just Cody versus the bloodline. It's like, okay, Jay versus the bloodline. But now the bloodline is coming in and like basically helping Drew McIntyre, even though it's not, has nothing to do with Drew. But then Drew has a problem with Jay, and so he doesn't care that the bloodline is going to come in and do something to Jay. But then Seth has an issue with Drew because of the, it's like everything really is coming together, and it feels like this might mean even more. It's like more evidence that the bloodline is going to end at Mania. That's how it feels.
Oh, it definitely feels like it's ending at Mania, and we're
Yeah.
gonna get a split within the bloodline, and then that's gonna culminate at 41.
Yes, I really do think that that's what is going to happen. I feel, and I don't even care, because this is the thing. We've talked about the predictability factor of a lot of storylines and people taking issue with a lot of that, especially at Elimination Chamber. But the thing is just because you might be able to predict how something goes, and as we've said, it's hard to predict how they're going to get there, and it's also different when you're watching it unfold, especially when it's something at WrestleMania. Like, it doesn't matter if you kind of can predict, okay, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen. Actually watching it gives you a different feeling. Like, you're not watching it like, yeah, okay, That's how you're going to react if Roman were to beat Cody. That's the
Mhm.
predictability that you don't want. The predictability of all this other stuff, I feel like, is a lot more exciting than like,
Oh,
oh
way
yeah,
more.
yeah, okay, Roman's still the champion. Okay,
No, because that's not, like, predictable, that's just boring and lazy. It's like, yeah, you could do that, but it's not hot. It's not the
Yeah,
hottest
yeah.
story right now.
And I think that the biggest thing is building for next year's WrestleMania. And some people might think that's crazy because okay, it's like a year in advance, but The Rock is no stranger to that, first of all. And I think that if you want to build up for next year's WrestleMania, because then you haven't even announced where it's going to be yet, but then you also want to solidify Roman as this legendary top guy. Why wouldn't you have him involved in a match that's a year in the making? Like, that's iconic status in my
Mhm.
book. Because when you think about that, obviously you first think about Rock versus Cena. Doing another year in advance match build up like this, you're then putting Roman in that same conversation. And
Exactly.
then there's just so much that they can do between now and then. Whereas if you have Cody lose and everything's just like, happy go lucky with the bloodline, it's like, okay, then what? It doesn't feel as satisfying like if they then eventually break up or the Rock turns on Roman or the Roman turns on Rock, or I don't know. Something feels like that doesn't feel as exciting to me. It feels like it has to happen at Mania and then we get more clarity maybe at the Raw after Mania. That's when maybe the Rock comes out and that's when we get the reveal of maybe I'm the real tribal chief, you're not, or he reveals that he was working on behalf of Cody, something like that. That seems so much more exciting to me.
Oh, way more. You can do way more with it to build up a story for WrestleMania.
Yeah. And I think that it would also kind of like it kind of takes some of the focus off of Roman losing. Like that's going to be significant if that's what it is, and I think that's what it should be. But then if we're immediately pivoting from oh my god, I can't believe that Roman just lost after 3.5, almost 4 years, to holy shit, he's going to be building up a match against The Rock at next year's WrestleMania. That's a
Yeah.
pretty good pivot. I feel
It's a
like
great pivot. Nice
yeah.
pivot to an open hole. Love
Yeah,
it.
so I think that makes sense. I don't know if everybody else does, but
No, it makes way more sense.
yeah.
And um this is WrestleMania season. The storyline needs to be good or great. Yeah, like it needs to be good enough. And it's so much better than last year. I'm trying to think of more comments here that
And yes, I do believe that Mania will be in Vegas. And if it's in Vegas, I will be there. It's not going to be at the Sphere, guys. It's not going to be at the Sphere. Now,
it'll be at the new Raiders Stadium,
yeah.
100%. Uh,
Hmm.
our truth can make anything
Yes.
into something. That's
Um
100% true.
Marcus also said, what does Roman do after Rock? Um I think it just depends on what direction they want to go in. I think that obviously the build up between him and The Rock is going to be something that they're going to revisit if it's going to be at Mania. If it's going to come to an end at Mania 41, they'll revisit it randomly throughout the year. But I think it could depend because some people thought maybe Roman becomes a babyface after he loses, and if that's the case, that's interesting. I do think that it's gonna mostly be the downfall of the bloodline, and I feel like that's the most realistic scenario because Roman doesn't want to be around. Roman doesn't want to wrestle, so just put him in random like a storyline with the bloodline where he doesn't have to wrestle that much. Like I think that we need to get beyond a point of Roman holding a title because he doesn't want to wrestle. So
Yeah,
I don't want another championship reign from him where he's not showing up. Like it's getting tiresome, guys. It's
it is
I
getting.
it,
Yeah,
doing a feud with the bloodline. He could do a bunch of pre-taped segments and nobody would know. Like
I wouldn't know, but it'd
yeah.
be on TV and I would think he showed up.
Yeah.
All right, that's all we got. Thank you to everybody who
Oh, hold
tuned
on.
in.
Vinny
Want
says,
to
want to
bet?
bet? Vinny knows Vegas. You both better be at Mania 41. Hopefully, then your channel is huge by then. I appreciate that because I
I hope
cannot
it is.
tell you guys, and I'm not trying to get sympathy, but I cannot tell you how many negative comments we have been getting on the channel
We're coming
over
in
the
as
weekend.
heels into the biz.
And
It's
this is
tough.
all because our conversation about Maxine and how we didn't think it was right
I
that she got
know.
booed the way she did. That's where I was getting a lot of hate comments. People were saying we were trash. People were telling me I was a Karen. People telling me I'm an idiot. I'm a
Most
moron.
people
I
are
don't know
telling
wrestling.
lies.
It was just a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It was and it's like most of the time I just let it roll off my back. I just think that I mean I will delete some of the comments because some of them are just like way over the top where I'm like, okay. But I think
Like
in
you
this
get it.
instance I was just like really confused because I didn't really understand why there was such a negative response to us just saying like you shouldn't have booed her. Like I don't really feel like that's a
Wrestling
controversial.
fans are so weird.
It's very weird. They
So
were
weird.
bringing up points like, oh well, it was their hard earned money. They have the right. You can't tell us what to do. I was like, what the hell is happening here? Like, you guys are taking this way too seriously. I just said I didn't think it was
Way
right.
too
You shouldn't boo
serious.
her. That's all I was saying. So
It's
we
all we said.
seriously appreciate any of the positive stuff that you guys say because we don't get it a lot. At least on the videos.
Not a lot.
We more so see it in the chat, which we appreciate because we got a lot of you in here that are like regulars and we love you guys. So I just wanted to take that time to say that because it was a rough weekend on the YouTube
Yeah, it was
channel.
rough.
Yeah.
It was rough, but that just means that better days are ahead. We are 32 days away from WrestleMania, I think it is. And it'll be 31 tomorrow and then the 30 after that. So we're getting ready for it. My ticket is all bought. And now it's on to the fun stuff of planning things to do, seeing the peeps, exploring not only the great city of Philadelphia, but the WWE world and all the events that come with it. So, until Thursday when we go live, make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell notification to know when we post, every time that we post. And then go follow those links in the description below, all our social media channels for all, more constant updates, what we're feeling about in the wrestling world, tweeting about that. So go follow us there. And we'll be back on Thursday for the fun show, the show where it's just a hodgepodge of everything.
Mhm.
AEW,
Whatever.
WWE,
Mhm.
whatever comes to mind, we'll talk about. And so bring your comments, bring your love, and bring that energy because WrestleMania season, and we need all of it to help us get there. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. I can't do it as easy. It's an actual belt. I can't just like fling it and be like, yeah, like it's like
I thought
yeah.
at first I thought you were standing up and I was like, what is happening right
No,
now?
like I legitimately have to like
Yeah.
fling it like with it's heavy. But yeah, we'll see you on Thursday. Yeah.